Law enforcement is warning Americans to be vigilant as they celebrate the July 4th holiday, with lone wolf terrorism the top concern. National correspondent Matt Galka reports from Washington.
As millions around the country get ready to celebrate Independence Day, a warning from the Department of Homeland Security. ABC News reports multiple bulletins from the FBI and DHS have cited lone wolf attackers as the biggest concern heading into the holiday, potentially inspired by terrorist organizations. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said they were monitoring all threats following U.S. strikes on Iran nuclear facilities.
We've seen some from overseas and some that have been here, maybe gone overseas for a short period of time, become radicalized and come back, or individuals that are right here in the United States. So we have to watch for all of it and to be diligent on all of it, and we'll continue to do so.
The bulletins reportedly mentioned San Francisco and New York specifically. With large crowds expected to watch fireworks in both places, authorities are concerned about copycats mirroring other terror attacks we've already seen this year. Law enforcement cited the New Orleans truck attack on Bourbon Street from New Year's Day. Former FBI Special Agent Ken Gray says oftentimes a lone wolf attacker leaves less of a paper trail when planning to do harm.
People are traveling internationally. They may have communications that are international. They may receive funding. They may receive training. Those type of things are red flags that are easier to detect than somebody who on their own decides to adopt a certain philosophy.
A separate warning from the FBI says threats are not only hanging over in-person events, but they're also coming in the form of cyber attacks. The FBI put out a message on the hacking group called Scattered Spider, who are now targeting airline systems. The hackers pose as real employees or contractors to gain access to sensitive information, and they're suspected of targeting at least 2 major airlines in June. Reporting in Washington, I'm Matt Gelka.
Shalom. Welcome to another video. And as always, before I get started, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachwadash. And next, double honors to the head apostles / elder bishops of the Great Millstone, who teach and who rule well. Peace, blessings, and safety to all you sincere Akim. Keep pushing, keep believing, and keep the faith, regardless of what people hear and what they forbear. All right, so this is going to be a lesson going into pretty much just walking circumspectly, all right, being safe, using wisdom. All right, because today is, July 4th. It's early morning over here where I'm at, and there's going to be different festivities going on. All right, and us as the hopeful elect, we constantly are thinking about the possibilities, okay, and we move in the fear of Yahweh Basham Yahushai, and that fear of the Lord ultimately is what keeps us safe, okay? So let's go ahead and dive right into that topic, okay, on prudence, all right, the fear of the Lord, and just knowing what times we're in, man. All right, so let's go right into it. Yahweh Righteous, Heavenly Father's will is edifying to the elect. I'll start off here in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 1. It says, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace." So the question is, what time do you think we are living in right now? All right, with the way things have been going, and they continue to get worse every year, as the prophecy stated that it would. But we are living in, deadly, serious, dangerous, perilous times. As the scriptures say, in the last days shall come perilous times. All right, and people are acting more and more psychotic. Okay, and as the news clipping said, all right, you have warnings from, the government about possible attacks. Okay, so using wisdom, we're really not supposed to be celebrating holidays anyway. So using wisdom, it would be smart to stay home. Okay, to not, if you want to see fireworks, and people, I'm sure most people that live in cities, they can be shooting fireworks all over the place. If you just want to see them, but I would avoid large crowds just in case something does happen. All right, like I said, we're really not supposed to be celebrating the holidays of the world anyways, so you could possibly end up bringing yourself into judgment. All right, going against, the grain, going against what Yahweh Shem Yahushai is speaking. All right, telling us not to celebrate the customs of the heathens, etc., etc. You could put yourself in the pathway of judgment. And today, like, it's the morning time, putting this message out early because, all right, it's a possibility that there could be attacks today. And we don't want any of the hopeful elect brothers and sisters getting caught up in anything. Right now is not the time to be celebrating and partying. Okay, let's go ahead and get another precept. Ecclesiastes chapter 7. And I'm going to start at verse 2. All right, it says, "It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting, for that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart." All right, so right now, people are partying, are getting drunk. People can be out there shooting fireworks, shooting guns. All right, us as the hopeful elect, what are we celebrating? We're still in captivity. Our people weren't free July 4th, 1776. They're not free now. All right, so what are you celebrating? Once again, it is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting, for that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart. Let's read that in a different translation. I'm just curious to see what it says. It says, "Better to spend your time at funerals than at parties. After all, everyone dies, so the living should take this to heart." All right, pretty much just being circumspect, man. All right, continuing on. Verse 3, "Sorrow is better than laughter, for by thy sadness the countenance of the heart is made better." Here's the point in verse 4, "The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth." Okay, always thinking about trying to have fun, partying. Okay, we're not in that time right now. That's why I started off with Ecclesiastes 3. This is not the time to be celebrating. We'll celebrate and have our fun when we're in the kingdom. All right, let's get Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 3. And it reads, "A prudent man foreseeth the evil." Okay, we've already saw that the government agencies are giving warnings about possible attacks. So a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. Okay, don't be simple. All right, we gotta move circumspectly, move prudently. All right, prudent means to be wise. Okay, to think before, to think ahead. What are the possibilities of what could happen? All right, you don't got to be out there with the people. Okay, these people ain't our people anyways. All right, as the hopeful elect, we are called to be separate from the people of the world. This is Ephesians 5 and 15. "See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil." See that? I'm going to continue reading. It says, "Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is." All right, and the will of the Lord is for the hopeful elect. Keep their minds focused on Him. Keep themselves separated and unpolluted from the world. It says also, "And be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit." And that's what people going to do out there. Partake in wild parties, or drunkenness. Okay, that time of our lives has passed. Let's go ahead and get that right quick. And we'll close it out here. Just a short, message. Okay, warning. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 1. "For as much then as Hamashiach has suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. For he that hath suffered in the flesh hath ceased from sin, that he should no longer live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lust of men, but to the will of Yahweh. For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles, when we walked in lasciviousness, lusts, excess of wine, revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatry." That's all that's going on today. "Wherein they think it strange that you run not with them to the same excess of riot, speaking evil of you, who shall give account to him that is ready to judge the quick and the dead. For this cause was the gospel preached also to them that are dead, that they might be judged according to men in the flesh, but live according to the Most High in the Spirit. But the end of all things is at hand. Okay, once again, what time we living in? We living in the end. Therefore, be sober and watch unto prayer. All right, and that's what we're supposed to be doing right now. Not partaking in the customs of the heathens, celebrating this so-called Independence Day. Okay, that's it. All right, just move with wisdom. All right, don't avoid large crowds. You know, the elders been saying that for months, because this summer things could very well pop off. We're in that time. So, all right, with that being said, Heavenly Father's will, it was edifying as always. All praise, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rachwadash. And until next time, Shalom, and abide babal.